Hello. I wanted to just try and talk about a subject which is. It always ends up sounding quite personal, really, because it involves the stuff of very much of personal relationships. Um, but um, it's to do with what we've been calling shadow phenomenon, which to say elemental dysfunction. Uh, and also to do with the subject of love, really, and identity. Um, it's it's quite a subject, really. Everyone has these sort of like issues, like dysfunctional issues, what we're calling shadow issues, yeah, whereby people are constrained by negativity or negative patterns, and they fall into various kinds of negative patterns. Those negative patterns tend to set off negative patterns in other people as well. Um, Everyone suffers from those sorts of things to various extents. But the funny thing is, when you love a person, you you see them as they really are underneath all of that, and you actually see, in a sense, you see their what I'd be calling their soul, yeah. And you can see sometimes over a period of time that maybe somebody has a very negative way of expressing themselves, or very negative patterns, but you actually see that that's not what they mean. Um, and then you can see that something else is going on here. What this comes back to, I think, is what I was talking about previously as the devil card in the tarot. And the devil card in the tarot has got nothing to do with the horn god. Um, it's got nothing to do with the horn god, or to what diabolists or Satanists refer to as Satan, or Lucifer, or any of these things. Yeah, the devil card in the tarot is a very interesting card. Yeah, um, and it shows a place where negative manifestations tend to collect around a blockage. Yeah, and what that's doing is pointing to the blockage, pointing to the dysfunction, so that it becomes so uncomfortable, so painful that it has to be addressed. Um, and I think this links into these things about the shadow phenomena, really. And it also links into the subject of love, because what lies behind the devil card is the power of love. It is the actual power of life and the life force itself. And that's what's trying to get free here. Um, so you can see we have various things here. Now, the trouble with this whole situation is that you can see people as they truly are, and you can see that in their heart they are, well, they have this sacred presence, really, which is their deepest nature. But it doesn't change the fact that negative patterns obscure things, and negative patterns can almost seem to take over, in a sense. And when negative patterns really take over, that's when you say a person has, in quotes, lost their soul. Of course, they haven't. It's simply that they are cut off from their deeper nature, and the deeper nature is the heart, really. That's how I see it. Uh, so there are all sorts of questions here about how we look upon people, and then what we do with what we see, yeah, and also how we look upon ourselves, how we get to view ourselves, how we can get to get a glimpse of ourselves, you know, beyond our, uh, you know, um, habitual narcissism, essentially. Yeah, which is a very, it's such a common it's such a common quality. It's people always going on about narcissism and narcissistic people. The human race is, suffers from this. Yeah, it's one of those predicaments. Yeah, but we can get glimpses of what the true nature of things is, and how we can respond from that rather than react and fall into our own shadow phenomenon or dysfunctions or elemental dysfunctions, so that we can actually have we can actually start to live as we really should be able to, which is far more freely and with far more fulfillment, really. I think that's about as much as I could say about that today, anyway. It's a very poignant subject, though, because you see how much people actually suffer, and you see that their suffering is tied up in all these kinds of dysfunctions, and then you see what's underneath it, and both those things have some strange, seemingly limitless value in them, because they relate to that one irreplaceable, unique individual. And that's what you see when you love a person. You see all these things. And when you love a person, you can't really separate out anything. And it's quite a process, really. But anyway, that's that. Speak soon.